we are, ladies and gentlemen. At the 12 o'clock position on Atlanta Spaceship, we have our Red Zerg player from the Team SCV Life, our 14-time reigning champion here at IPL Fight Club. It's TSL Hyun. And his opponent down here in the lower left-hand corner, sporting the Tab Megumi Expert, it is FX Open Esports Leenock.
Ah, Leenock, man. Leenock, quite a jovial little, my girlfriend back in Pennsylvania, she was always, he's so cute. So cute.
He is a cutie.
Yeah, man. So Megumi Expert, I mean, even if you go outside of like the, Trisha and everything, but a little cute bear, yeah, Leenock.
Yeah,
it's
yes,
fitting.
He is. Very cuddly.
Yeah.
Also with a lot of money in his pocket now. And there we go. We have game sounds now. Although, let's see here what both players plan to do. As this is, as you mentioned before, the largest two-player map that we have. Probably soon to rotate out. I'm not really sure when, but while some people will take the approach of, oh, it's a big map, they won't maybe necessarily think that I'm going to choose, I will. It's even not as popular on this map just because of how freaking long that walk distance is. We've seen people that have gone hatch first defend against 7 pools here.
Yeah, especially, I mean, thinking back to the Life versus Hyun series, he faced styles like that a lot. And Hyun has shown that he is quite adept at dealing with them, so I don't expect anything like that out of Leenock. In fact, here we see both players opening up with a 15 hatch. Nothing too surprising there. They've both had the opportunity to see that, you know what, both these guys are well-suited to take it into the late game, as evidenced by their series in IPL.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, both these guys know how to play that longer style of ZVZ that is, of course, very popular lately. We've been seeing much more Roach Hydra composition. Mutas have gotten really popular for a while. They still have their place, although more and more we're just seeing players just quicker default back to that Roach Infestor play.
Yeah, it was kind of funny seeing the interviews between Sniper and Hyun. We heard both players in the interview state, yeah, there's been a lot of Mutalisk play lately, so I think we could be seeing tons of Mutalisks. And then they both just went almost every game with such heavy Roach Hydra, Roach Infestor compositions, mixing in those Hydras, of course, in the late game. But yeah, it's very interesting seeing how this meta has been shifting lately with the Zerg.
Not too much to separate these players. Leenock did decide to go for a little bit earlier Extractor here, so gets that up, spawning pool a bit afterwards. He'll be a bit slower on his lanes, a bit slower on his queens, but he'll have that all-important speed about 10-15 seconds faster than his opponent Hyun.
Now, one of the things about Leenock, he will notice the slightest error that you make. I recall in Entombed Valley, a match at IPL, actually, Leenock realized, Violet, your Overlord is just a bit too far back, and I know that if I single file my Lings here, I'm definitely going to be able to slip them out. And so he made all these Zerglings, and just on the very edge of the Overlord vision, skirted them by. So he will notice small attention to details like this, and Hyun is going to need to be on point with everything, from Overlord positioning, which notably he's very good at, to, making sure he's got units all over patrolling on a map this large.
Now, we've been seeing more and more often, of course, that players, it used to be that, Zerg players, they're not pulling off of gas right after speed. Yeah. What crazy concoction are they coming up with? Well, more and more people are doing that, and that's just kind of the standard now. Baneling nests are coming down because after a hatch first, even in this new Roach meta, you still have to remain defensive with your Baneling nest. But then continuing to build up gas, going for that earlier layer. We'll see who decides to prioritize upgrades. Looks like already Leenock going down the Evolution Chamber route. And so he can tech on those upgrades and eventually go through that layer tech in just a second.
A lot of players we saw, Kev, they were talking about the Banelings and how we're seeing them pretty much every game now. And it used to be this coin flippy thing where some people went Banelings, and then if you didn't, you needed to have perfect defensive play. And if you didn't execute perfectly, then you lost. And if obviously if you did, then you defend. But players it seems like they just got tired of this like coin flippy nature, and we're like, look, if we just all go for Banelings, then we'll draw even in most scenarios. I mean, of course, you can, morph in 20 Banelings and just go for the kill, but in this situation, well, Leenock, he does get him with a scout, and this is going to be really nice for him. He sees no extra gas in the natural.
Look at what Hyun just did. Let's grab Leenock's vision, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is a layer that popped up just the second after those scouting Lings ran right by. Now, there's still a possibility that this Overlord is going to see it, but that was very intelligent play from Hyun, as he completely hides his layer tech for a very long time.
But in the same respect, Leenock coming forward the smallest amount with that Overlord when he sees that the one gas is taken, and now he checks on the timing of the second one. And why would you ever have 3 gases right now, Kev, if you did not have a lair on the way? Which it's surprising he hasn't seen it as of yet. He could anticipate an all-in here.
Definitely agreed. I mean, he can pretty well assume that layer tech's going to be here in a second, but right now, at least, he doesn't know how far it is along. He doesn't know where it's at. He had gotten it with Zerglings, and he saw both hatcheries. There was no layer tech at both, and he still doesn't see it yet. So, pretty clever play by Hyun.
It really was. Hyun, I mean, and that's not honestly that surprising. Hyun is just like, I'm actually going to blow your mind. It's going to hurt.
Yeah, it would hurt, actually, especially if Hyun does it. But Leenox going out for a third base now. Looks like Hyun already has one on the way, but it's under attack by a couple of Zerglings. You can see a couple of those shifted over here in a second. Actually, he's going to get down there with a Queen and just go ahead and take the damage on this hatchery at least a little bit. Nice job just dropping down some creep to make sure this Queen gets there a little bit faster. Of course, it's random as to exactly what direction it's going to push out, so a little bit unfortunate there. Oh, and he actually lets the Zerglings get on by and loses a Baneling because of his attention was split somewhere else.
Nicely enough, though, did he prevent scouting of the infestation pit? Can we actually check that? It was in the bottom of the natural, and he did. Wow, all right, so that Baneling paying off quite nicely there.
Okay. And Hyun now has a perfect vision of what his opponent is doing. He sees complete layer tech, he sees all the gas, he even sees the infestation pit coming up, so Hyun's got pretty perfect vision at this stage of the game. He doesn't actually have any sort of a macro hatch going on now, though, so his production's going to be a bit behind his opponent as we move forward.
I'm looking at, all right, so I mean, obviously Hyun, he's got a great supply, he's got more information right now than Leenox. We like his position, except it looks like he's going to get this Queen snipe. That should not survive. Queen goes down, but not before getting off a Larva Inject. Nice play there from Hyun. But right now, Hyun, he's gearing up for a big timing, Kevin. You can see +1's nearly completing. Does Leenox have the counter timing available with his just a little bit later?
You know, he may very well. I mean, the distance on the map is not 70 seconds long as the difference between the upgrades are, but the amount of units he's producing, he at least will have a pretty stout defense ready back at home. Now, Hyun is starting to charge across the map. He's got a lot of units. He's actually splitting those down 2 different corridors, and Leenox actually going to see those and just immediately fall back.
Yes, he is. Pathogen Glands is not far enough along quite yet for Leenox to start up those infestors, but any second they could. But right now he needs to be scrambling for units. How many roaches? Take a look at the unit counting station. We are looking at 25 to 13 to 21 lings to supplement that for Leenox, though, to try to make up that difference. So we're 12 roaches is the spread right now. +1, getting closer and closer to finishing, though, for Leenox. Here come the roaches into the third.
All right, one Spine Crawler sitting here. Very nice job dropping down Contamination to be able to stop any sort of injects and additional larvae from this base. So even if it doesn't die here, at least it's taking quite a bit of damage. Now we have roaches coming from the top 2. They're going to try and pulse around this force. Good reason him to Baneling actually taking some damage from the front 2 roaches here. Now Leenox did get a good initial engagement as he was able to actually start working against the roaches of his opponent before the ones flanked through from Hyun, so that may actually hurt him a little bit, and with the shorter reinforcement path, looks like he is doing a nice job of holding this. His own +1 weapons have now finished up, and Hyun, he's reinforcing. Is it going to be enough to continue doing economic damage? Because so far, he's done none.
Yeah, Kevin, I mean, Leenox definitely held that beautifully. Now he's having reinforcing roaches come down. They may be able to thwart this. It looks like the roach count is high enough for Leenox that Hyun's going to have to fall back. But, wow, Leenox, I mean, like, he could have died if Hyun had hit all at once with one angle with all of his roaches, but as you pointed out, he split them up, and now we're seeing the consequences of that as Hyun is losing tons of units.
Yes, he is. Now, is he reinforcing with his infestors? No, he is not, so he's just being chased away by these roaches. In fact, he doesn't have any infestors right now. I know he finished Pathogen Glands, but he hasn't started down that path yet, which is actually going to hurt him quite a bit because Leenox making a very strong push of his own.
That he is, and if we take a look at the worker supply, Leenox also ahead in that regard. So he's ahead in tech, he's ahead in economy, and he is just narrowly down at Roach's. Leenox now with a beautiful position, having held off that timing push from Hyun.
Now, he is going to be down in upgrades. His +2 weapons is actually miles behind his opponent, a full 2 minutes in game. So if if Hyun can actually gather his forces, get those infestors in play, he's actually going to be in a pretty decent spot, and he could start to put on some pressure once again. But look at this. He's actually going to draw units away and try and sneak in here with an infestor group over on the right-hand side. And in fact, he is doing just that. Leenox making his way all the way into the main at the exact same time, driving down a lot of infested Terrans.
And the Roaches had to make a decision there to go for the Infestors or the Infested Terrans. Looks like he's going to play it on the defensive side, the safe side, while his Roaches try to clean up these units in the main. Couple of drones are getting taken out by 4 Roaches. Actually, that is beautiful out of Leenock. Let me engage in the concave where I have the advantage on the ramp. At the same time, I'll kill your economy with a couple of Roaches. He has done tons of damage to Hyun right now. The worker supply is now 10 indifference.
That's right, and at the same time, more economic damage is being done everywhere. How many workers killed? 14 already. Leenock is doing an astounding job of limiting his opponent's economy, and even though he had equitable forces going into that, now all of a sudden he finds himself at a significant advantage as he's been able to just power ahead back on his, well, additional hatchery. I guess, yeah, okay, it looks like Hyun did get one up in the meantime. But his superior economy, and he's continuing to reinforce and keep the pressure on so that Hyun can't rebuild his own economy. Because right now, those 8 drones that are popping up, that could be Roaches.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And in this position, Hyun's going to wish that they were, in all honesty. Leenock getting ready for this attack. And Hyun, what does he have to defend it? The answer, folks, is 24 Roaches against 41 and 2 Infestors against 5. Huge fungal growths going down. And could that just be the end of it right there?
Well, I mean, Leenock's pushing in. He's still down an upgrade right now, but he's got a sheer quantity of units that allows him to target down this hatchery, force all the economy away. That's all he needs to do. This attack has now been successful. If he would go home at this moment, then he did everything that he set out to do. And in fact, he is going to. We'll probably see him take a 4th base here in a second. He could continue along his tech tree, but now his +2 upgrades are finishing. He is unsupply blocking himself, so he'll be at maxed very quickly. And really, Hyun is running out of options.
Oh, he absolutely is. I mean, let's hit I. I want to take a look at this income tab, and we can now see Leenock is doing about 2,000 minerals a minute to Hyun's 1,500. He's also bringing in a lot more gas as well. That's going to translate into more units, more upgrades, more stuff in general over the next couple of minutes. So Hyun, the longer he waits right now, the further he falls behind.
Okay, well, Leenock's going to try and pressure this. At the front, Hyun does have a lot of Infestors. Pretty decent amount of energy available on those two. And in this relatively narrow choke point, he can actually control that for a good period of time. Hyun has perfect vision of what's going on, and it doesn't look like Leenock wants to expend the energy to be able to take out this Overseer. As a consequence, Hyun may be able to prepare a little bit more, but even if he does, even if he gets a great engagement and drives his opponent back, what does he do from here? I mean, his opponent's making spine crawlers for defense. He's got a 4th base. He's also putting pressure on this base down here in the bottom right-hand corner. I just don't see where Hyun goes from here.
There's not really that many options from him. I mean, so much of this goes back down to earlier, but hold that thought. The Roach is coming in now for Hyun. He's going to try to make a stand at this 3rd base, and we'll be able to hold on the right side. Problem is, units coming in from the left. Fungal growths are going to trap the Roaches momentarily, but there is an overwhelming quantity of units here for Leenock. Will he be able to chain fungal them to death? Hyun certainly does have a lot of Infestors, but good splitting out of Leenock. He is going to hold the right-hand side. Hyun will now be able to fall back with these units. I don't know if he's got enough, though. His supply is finally jumping, but those are Roaches on the way.
Yeah, it looks like he is actually going to be able to hold this pretty darn well. Leenock knows that he's going to lose all of these Roaches, so he suicides in and tries to take out as many Infestors as he can. And he actually grabbed 4 out of the 5. I mean, that was really, really nice for him. He's going to lose his last couple of Roaches. Hyun does hold on for now. He does retain the space down in the bottom right-hand corner, but he's down in workers. He's got to get the space saturated ASAP. And more importantly, he actually had to follow this up with economic damage of his own, and it's going to be very difficult for him to put that on right now.
Yeah, Hyun actually did a fantastic job with that fight. It's just, as you said, you know, the Infestors. I mean, losing those Infestors was just incalculable in terms of the change in difference it's going to have here. 9-1 now. And if you watched IPL 5, you know that the one thing that Leenock loves is a massive, massive, massive Infestor count, and he's going to have it over Hyun.
Well, we'll see what Hyun can do from here on out. I mean, he's trying to regather his forces, but Leenock's actually waiting for a big death push here. He moved up with his Infestors, so he's not planning on retreating. He wants to be able to get in and do the damage right now. Hyun has a very nice concave, actually a great way to start this engagement, but this is exactly the moment when you need about 3 fungal growths hitting this entire group of forces for Leenock, and it's just not there. And you can see, even with a superior concave, Leenock is forcing his opponent back. He's up by 60, 70 supply now. He's going to continue putting on economic damage. I actually think there's something over here on the right-hand side. Yep, that's a bunch of dead workers. That's a GG. Game number 1 does go to FXO Leenock. Congratulations to him.
I mean, that was a beautiful defense there from Leenock. You know, how you mentioned when Hyun pulled, he had Roaches on the right, he had Roaches on the left. He kind of tried to pinch Leenock's forces. And Leenock went, I made Zerglings with speed. Hold on 1 second. While you retreat with your forces on the right and you're chasing me from the back, I'm going to surround your units with my Zerglings and hammer and anvil them with the Roaches. And it made it that, well, Hyun really didn't have anything he could do. It was a beautiful unit composition against the attack that Hyun tried to make.
All right, so that's game number 1 in the bag. We're going to head to game number 2 here in just a second. And do want to mention to everyone, of course, that we are, as part of our daily content again, we are restarting our 12 days to, or 12 giveaways to 2013 is what we've officially termed it. So you can head over to IGN.com/IPL giveaways for more information. Please do enter to win right over there. We'll have a couple more of those actually happening throughout the rest of this year. Let's go ahead and run to that commercial break, though. When we come back, we're going to see if Hyun can tie things up here on Daybreak.